When I was a teenager, I started dealing with frequent aches and pains. I assumed it was just part of being a very active teenager, playing pretty much every sport they would let me. As time went on, the pain gradually became more frequent and more intense. By the time I was 30 years old, I was dealing with back spasms regularly. I figured it was just part of being in the Army, where they often called upon you to carry over 100 pounds of equipment. But then in 2013, a doctor put a name to my pain: fibromyalgia. It is a condition that there isn't much known about, and there is actually no test to diagnose it. But the description I received from that doctor that day, which is still the best description I've ever received, was that my brain misinterprets normal nerve sensations as pain. So as an example, when someone lightly brushes up against the hairs on my arm, I get this prickly burning sensation, kind of like when you start to feel your leg wake up after it's fallen asleep. And the longer the sensation exists, the greater the pain and the body's response to the pain. I can no longer wear my wedding band because just having that ring on my finger, my body thought there was something bad going on there, and I'd have cramps all the way up into my shoulders. But thanks to medication and treatments, my pain levels are much lower than they used to be, but it is always present. And the greater the activity, the more the pain I have, and the greater the pain I have, the more my daily battery gets drained. If I ignore that, eventually I get a flare-up, which means several days where I just can't even get out of bed, exhausted and hurting. I share this with you as an example of a form of limitation or pain carried that isn't readily visible to the world. There are so many pains that are carried by us that are unknown by others. So many physical impairments, arthritis, hearing loss, vision impairment, autoimmune disorders such as lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's, colitis, diabetes, heart disease, connective tissues disorders, hypermobile connective tissue disorders, and many, many more. And then there are cognitive and learning challenges such as ADHD, autism, sensory processing disorders, dyslexia and dyscalculia, auditory disabilities, and more. And then so many of us carry mental health conditions: PTSD, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, survivors of abuse and assault. And there are many, many, many more hidden disabilities, too many to be listed. The Hidden Disabilities Sunflower organization recognizes over 900. And I've discovered that most people with hidden disabilities have multiple. I myself have fibromyalgia, arthritis, IBS, hearing loss, PTSD, anxiety, and depression. And hidden disabilities are often hereditary. In fact, every member of my family has at least one hidden disability. So everything has a compounded effect on families affected by hidden disabilities. My limitations have taught me many hard lessons. A disability means not being able to do something most others can. I can't do all the things I want to do, and often I can't do things I can as well as I want to. Learning that your life will never be all that you want it to be hurts. Living with a disability means mourning the life you no longer have or the life you were never able to live. And having a hidden disability means going through that mourning without anyone else knowing you are suffering. But I've also learned that I'm not alone. CDC estimates that about 10% of the 61 million adults who identify as having a disability have an invisible disability, but that figure is way low. The Society for Human Resource Management, an odd source I know, but they surveyed working adults in the U.S. and identified approximately 33 million working adults in the U.S. that live with invisible or non-apparent disabilities. And then the Hidden Disability Sunflower Organization estimates 80% of people living with a disability worldwide are non-visible. That's more than 1 billion people living with a hidden disability worldwide. So I've learned I am not alone, and you are not alone. Another thing that I've learned is humility. Have you ever found yourself on a bus and been angry that a young, healthy-looking person took a seat when somebody older and frailer-looking was forced to stand? Or have you seen someone hop out of their vehicle in a handicapped spot and thought, they don't look like they need that spot? I know I have many times. But now I've experienced being on the other side, being that person sitting down in pain but seemingly fine. If there's one thing that I hope we can all take from today is to realize we don't know what others are dealing with. So give them grace whenever you can. That person that with the short response may be dealing with pain unknown to you. The friend that cancels on you at the last minute may be in the middle of a flare. And the person you haven't heard from in a while, maybe check in on them. Because we could all use a little help from time to time. Thank you.